Hey, everybody, and welcome to the unveiling of the Evolution Series with SVS. I'm Nathan with Listen Up. I'm actually out of the Colorado Springs location, and I'm joined by none other than Gary and Nick from SVS themselves. So, hi, guys. How are you?
Doing excellent, Nate. Thank you so much for having us. And I love your background there. It looks like you're in a very acoustically treated space.
Yes, this is one of our listening rooms down here in Colorado Springs, and I figured not only would it be good for the mic, but you should probably be seen in the coolest room, right, when you do one of these things. So,
No doubt.
yeah, y'all as well. So, hello to everybody out there. Go ahead and feel free to comment away, and let us know if you have any questions. These are flying by pretty fast, so we'll try and catch them. And if there's a question that is pretty interesting, we'll try and bring that to Nick and Gary. If you post a question, we actually might answer it later. Then just be patient, wait till the end. We will have more questions or time for questions at the end of all of it. But good to see everybody here. So, Gary, Nick, obviously this is a lot going on for SVS. This is a pretty huge release in regards to the Evolution speaker lineup, and I mean it is a full lineup. And obviously this is not our first speaker, right? Y'all have been doing speakers for a long time.
Well, it is interesting because,
Yeah.
first of all, Nate, thanks for having us on. I really appreciate it. It's fun. We love you guys. This is I think probably the company I have the longest history with is Listen Up, and really honored to be in your family of partners. And SVS is the #1 subwoofer brand in the world. That's not a very controversial statement. I think most people would not, if you're in this space, if you know what is going on in this space, you probably wouldn't dispute that. But what people don't know is we're also in the top 10 speaker brands in the world, and that's been a journey for us. When I started, SVS was only subwoofers, and my joke is that the road of this industry is littered with the bodies of subwoofer companies that tried to make speakers. And so what we did was bring in folks to our company who were whose expertise was focused on speakers, instead of asking our subwoofer designers to, arrogantly say that they know everything and also can make speakers. And that worked out really well for us, because fast forward to today, is fast forward something people still say, or only people my age? I don't know. Fast forward to today, and we're in the top 10 speaker brands in the world, which may not be as well known. Ultra Evolution speakers are SVS's, it's the culmination really of everything we've learned about designing speakers. And it is our entry into the world of high-end speakers. We want to be in the conversation via Ultra Evolution of the finest speaker brands in the world, regardless of price, in that conversation. And I'm really proud of the initial reception to Ultra Evolution speakers. Nick and I have been at multiple shows, including CES, Florida Audio Expo, Expo in Chicago, ProSource Expo in Vegas, where we showed your colleagues, your ProSource colleagues, the most cynical group of retailers on the planet. And so the speakers better deliver. And it was really a great experience for us. So yeah, the initial reception's been great. I saw in the comments, somebody's asking, have they been reviewed? They are being reviewed. I think we've gotten, what, Nick, 6 or 7 reviews just from the show performance, but now we have formal reviews coming out, and I think you'll be very impressed with what you're going to see if you're into that stuff.
Yeah, I think what we're realizing is people are really digging into these reviews. There will be measurements, there'll be really in-depth reviews of these speakers, because this is, as Gary was saying, the culmination of everything that we've learned about and what we've sought to achieve with speaker design. And there's going to be a lot of validation there as far as what we've done with the towers and the bookshelves and the full lineup. So we're as excited as you are to see what people's impressions are, but you can see a couple of the customer reviews already floating out there, and so far it's been really rewarding to read them.
Yeah. Now, Nick, I actually thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to kind of touch on that. Obviously, Evolution seems like somewhat an appropriate nomenclature for these, because we're seeing some similarities between previous SVS designs, but it is certainly changing. You can't confuse it with previous models. But what is kind of the philosophy or the mindset that SVS has when going into a new project, when developing a new speaker or a subwoofer, or really any new product? What is the overarching goal for SVS?
Let me say one thing, and then I'll pass it to you, Nick. A lot of companies will do a refresh every year or so, and it's sort of like, version 2.0, and this thing is flared, and this is now gold when it used to be copper or whatever. It's, to us, these are kind of nonsensical product launches. They're not real. When we do a product launch, and Nick, maybe I'll pass it to you. We do a real product launch. There is literally nothing the same between Ultra Evolution and the old Ultra series. They're a complete reimagining of what's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to sort of spin off of that, it's not only about making or differentiating it from the original series and creating vast improvements in both performance and also just general design, but it's also about setting benchmarks or sort of raising the bar for what's possible at those prices. We don't want to just make it better than the previous speaker, the previous model. We want to make it better than anything in its class or even above its class. And so that's really the mentality that we go into as far as the design process. And I actually saw a question pop up here, and I don't know the answer to this one. And Gary, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Smith isn't here, but I'm curious what, many people don't know. CEOs don't typically get involved in the, nuts and bolts of designing a product, but Gary is very hands-on, from the voicing to some of the initial decision-making that happens. And I'm curious, like, what were the biggest challenges as far as the Ultra Evolution development? Because I know the cabinet architecture itself was a major accomplishment that we can talk about. But was there like any specific things that sort of were, those biggest challenges?
I saw, to relate it to this question, I saw this gentleman named Chris asking how long was the design process. It was almost 5 years, and I drove everybody crazy. And here's some inside baseball. That this is the 8th version of Ultra Evolution that finally we agreed. We had 8 different configurations before we settled on this, because the stakes are so high for us. We really wanted to redefine or change the conversation about what SVS speakers can be. What was difficult about it was exactly that. It's not, I'm not going to say it's not hard, but it's easier to design a reference speaker that you're going to sell for $40,000 a pair than it is to design a reference speaker that is within the range of the range of price of pretty much anyone who gets a paycheck. And that's our goal. Our goal is, if a person, makes just a normal living, and they're passionate about great sound, that they should have the ability to have uncompromised reference sound in price ranges that are available to them. Yes, that was the hard part.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the challenge of every manufacturer, is we have our performance, and then we have our budget, right? And how do we balance those, right? Because it costs money to make a speaker. It costs money to make anything. And then, so I think that really does, we've seen some really outstanding companies such as SVS actually, instead of just throwing more money at the product, rethinking it and redesigning it. And I think that's a beautiful approach to really any speaker design. So, excellent. So now, obviously, we're calling this is the Ultra Evolution, and as you've kind of alluded to, obviously the eighth rendering or the 8th version, that in itself is probably an evolution in itself. But I mean, as far as a brand, why did you go with the name Evolution? That kind of implies that this series might be going somewhere, or the technology achieved here is going somewhere. Is there anything that you can share with us in that regard?
Well, I mean, one of our sort of I don't want to call it a catchphrase because it is meaningful to us, is sound revolution, which is, on the one hand, speakers are something that have been around for quite a long time. So on a certain level, it's evolution. But we also want to disrupt that space and do things that weren't possible before and cannibalize our young and everybody else's young with each new product. And we've also made the mistake of saying, you know, this series version 2 or this series pro version, and then everybody thinks it's basically the same thing, only with a cool name or a second version of it. And we really wanted to send the message to the world that this is a complete reimagining of what we think is possible in speakers anywhere near this price range. And that's the full reason why we chose that name.
Gotcha. So it is almost, I don't want to say it, but almost a departure from previous designs.
It is. It's a complete reimagining. You can say it.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And obviously we're going to dig into this more, but I mean, we're not just talking about the design, but also new materials, right? That's going in here.
All new cabinet architecture, all new drivers, all new driver technologies, all new driver configurations. I mean, there's literally nothing that isn't, completely reimagined.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. So, we can
walk you through this.
Yeah. Actually, so I was hoping to, if you don't mind, can we kind of start from the outside of the speaker,
sure,
and work our way in, and kind of see how So I mean, first thing, and we've gotten a couple comments here, and obviously this is not your typical speaker shape. Let's talk about this. We've got a very symmetrical design here. We've got a tweeter in the middle, then it looks like 2 mid ranges, and then 2 woofers even further out, and even the cabinet itself is curved within this symmetry. And this is something that you'll see in some speakers, and this is essentially used for timing and time alignment. Is that correct? Can you explain to us?
I'll start, and Nick, you can riff off of it if you want to. We call it acoustically centered time alignment. So let's talk about that for a second. You see that the front baffle is exactly as you observed, Nate. It's curved. It basically flares out from the tweeter to the mid ranges and to the woofers. And the reason you do that is the sound emanation point of a tweeter dome is from the outermost part of the dome, whereas the sound emanation point of the mid-ranges and the woofers is from the innermost part of the woofer diaphragm or the mid-range diaphragm. And so if you drew a vertical line, perfect vertical line from the emanation points of the 2 woofers and the 2 mid-ranges and the tweeter, it would be straight up and down. The benefit is that the sound from each driver arrives at the listener's ear at the exact same instant, which creates a very precise and very convincing soundstage. Then you also note that the tweeter is in between the 2 mid-ranges and the 2 woofers, hence the term acoustically centered. What you always are shooting for in a speaker is a sense of a point source. And by centering the tweeter between the 2 mid-ranges and the 2 woofers, we create a very focused soundstage. So the end result of this cabinet configuration is a very precise, convincing, refined, accurate, and believable soundstage between the 2 speakers. This is basically the holy grail of what you want in imaging. And if you experience these speakers at a Listen Up, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear, basically, you could close your eyes and you can see with your ears where each instrument is in the music that you're listening to or the content that you're listening to.
And I'll add on to that. This is not the first execution that's ever been done with the acoustically centered time alignment, but it is definitely probably the most inclusively priced execution. This is something that's normally reserved for some of the highest end speakers that are available, and that was one of the big things we wanted to do, was take some of the technologies that have been out of reach for a lot of people and bring them to a price level that is just much more attainable. And that's why this was a big investment for us to get the cabinet architecture like this at this price. And again, it's all the benefits that Gary mentioned are very real. And we were excited to be able to have this available.
Yeah, I think the cabinet alignment, as you put out, that must not be the easiest thing to design versus the traditional monolithic tower speaker, right? The cabinet's very specific to the drivers. Now, and I don't mean to digress or get hitched up on this the time alignment of this, but this is the second conversation that I've had where the subject of timing is everything has come up, and as you pointed out, Gary, that yeah, by doing this, we're creating essentially the same effect of a point source speaker, and we're not going to get into exactly what a point source speaker is too much right now. But I guess the question then becomes, how does that affect my sitting position? Because some speakers, you have to, once you're in the sweet spot, it's beautiful, right? But that sweet spot is dictated not only by your distance between each speakers, but also your distance between each of the woofers, or each of the drivers, I should say, on the speaker. So with this kind of design, should we expect a broader sweet spot or perhaps a narrower, more defined sweet spot?
So it's a great question. Let me, and it does bring me to a second technology story that I want to tell, if that's okay, and then I'll bring it back to the thrust of your question. We also have an all-new tweeter in this speaker. It's our first ever diamond coated tweeter. We have in the past used aluminum domes, and there's a big benefit of aluminum domes. They're light, they're capable of incredible detail. They're quick, but they can be prone to a sort of an edgy, sometimes called a metallic sound, and especially on the top end, they can sometimes be fatiguing to listen to. By using a process that really wasn't even possible in speakers 10 years ago, called vapor deposition, we put commercial diamond dust on the aluminum dome. And what it does is it remains just as light and detailed as it was prior to an unalloyed aluminum dome. But now we bring the place where it distorts to a frequency so beyond what any content has, nearly 40,000 hertz, so beyond what any human can hear, that it's effortless, airy, and never fatiguing to listen to. The other property of this diamond-coated tweeter is we're able to cross it over at a lower point than a normal tweeter, and for that reason, we can cross over the mid-ranges at a lower point to the tweeter. The benefit there, Nate, is mid-range. A mid-range that's asked to do things in the higher frequencies is what makes a speaker less forgiving of where you're sitting. And so because we're able to do that, it's extremely forgiving of where you sit. Is there a sweet spot? Sure. I mean, if you're sitting directly in an equilateral triangle between the speakers and everybody else who lives with you has to, be in a terrible place, you're going to be in the best place. However, it is a speaker that is very forgiving no matter where you are in the room. It doesn't beam vertically, and it doesn't beam horizontally. So I would call it a very broad sweet spot.
Wow. Okay. So you can get a sweet spot, but you don't lose it as quickly either. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I don't want to say, well, it doesn't matter if you're behind the speakers, it's still going to sound great, or if you're off to the side, it's going to, they right. do fine off axis, but you'd be better off a little bit centered and in front of them.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just while we're talking about the tweeter, a couple other things. I know Gary did a great job explaining the diamond coated vapor deposition and some of the benefits there. And we went through a very long process to get to the choice of these materials. We looked at beryllium, we looked at a lot of other materials that are popular, even some ribbons, and some of them don't hold up as well, but we found this to be, equally parts very lightweight, but very rigid, so it can handle, the playback levels that we know some SVS users really like to hit. And we wanted to make sure they were, they had a speaker that could handle no matter what their tastes are or what their playback levels are. This tweeter will do it. And then as far as
that's a good point. I mean, I want to riff on that a little bit because I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this almost as long as Listen Up's been around. No, not that long, but a long time.
Yourself, you know.
And one thing you learn, and I'm sure people on the selling floor at Listen Up are going to confirm this, you have to choose your demo material carefully when you demo a speaker, even a high-end speaker, because the right demo material will show that speaker's strengths, and the wrong demo material will show that speaker's weaknesses. And so you want to choose the right demo material. This is, and I don't want to be, sound like I'm bragging, but this is the first speaker I've ever encountered where we really don't care what demo material is used, what genre is used. We do classic rock, we do jazz, we do classical, we do EDM, hip hop, and it acquits itself really, really well. I went to Germany to show this to the German press and key German dealers. They weren't in love with the demo material that I brought. They wanted to have their own, and it was scary to me a little bit. Some of it was stuff I had never heard before.
Lots of craft work?
No, not craft work. Things you never heard of.
Okay.
And yeah, it was scary, but they acquitted themselves really, really well. I came back and I told Nick about it, and he said, "What if in these audiophile shows we let people just choose their own demo material, which nobody does?" And we did that, and I think we proved the point. They just don't care what kind of music or content they're playing. They show themselves in a great light no matter what.
One other point I would just throw out about the tweeter, Nate, to finish up sort of that conversation. The sweet spot has also benefited, by the diffuser, and it's not the diffuser. Ultimately, its goal is to protect the tweeter. And Gary jokes with me because I'm like obsessed with this tweeter diffuser because we went through like 25 different iterations of the grill, the grill that you see on that image there, to get to the version that would provide the most acoustic benefits. And it's sort of got this irregular cellular lattice structure. And again, it's there to protect the tweeter from any kind of damage, but it also has really purposeful dispersion characteristics that help you get the best sound in the widest, broadest sweet spot from that tweeter. So it's just one of those things that I obsess over because it shows the level of detail that we took when designing this new flagship series.
Well, this is actually a great point because that organic cell lattice diffuser does broaden out the quote unquote sweet spot.
Yeah, and I'm going to side with you here, Nick, because the tweeter does handle some very high frequencies, and very high frequencies means very, very, very small wavelengths, right? And the smaller the wavelength, the more that it's going to be affected by other materials. So I think it's actually quite an oversight for someone to put really anything in front of the tweeter without thinking of it as either a waveguide or a diffuser or potentially an improper diffuser itself, something that might actually negatively be affecting it. So I think I'm going to agree with you there, Nick, how important that diffuser in front of the tweeter might be. So
it's every opportunity.
It's funny you say that, Nate, because in listening, one of the things that it literally for me is jaw dropping is the difference between different diffusers. You wouldn't think so. The exact same tweeter with different diffusers can have seemingly to me, completely different sonic characteristics. So it is partially science and partially art. And we did spend a lot of time listening to these speakers, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah. And there's a million off the shelf versions that you could just slap on there and it's not going to have a huge degradation, but to take the approach of FEA analysis and really diving into what's going to provide the most acoustic benefits, even if it's, law of diminishing returns, it just shows again, the dedication we wanted to put into these.
I'm seeing questions about measurements. Can I answer? Is that okay?
Yeah, fire away. Yeah, because I want to know too.
I think it's a really good question. Nick asks here, how do we measure our speakers? And it really speaks to the design process, which is very iterative. First of all, you do everything in theory first. In other words, you use computer-aided design before you ever make a prototype. But then after you make a prototype, you go through this iterative process. And Nick asks, do we use do we have an anechoic chamber? Do we use Klippel? Yes, to all that. And in fact, we use anechoic chamber to test. Anechoic chamber is basically a perfect room where there's no reflection. No room is actually perfect, but it's as close to perfect as there is. And so you can measure with zero room response and see how the speaker works in a perfect world. But then you have to take it to calibrated listening rooms and measure in how it behaves in the real world. Just measuring how it behaves in an anechoic chamber will not tell you what you need to know. And the other thing you do is you listen to the speaker and you go back and forth between anechoic measurements, in-room measurements, and listening and making changes according to all three of those until you arrive at that perfect sweet spot. So it is partially science, but it's also partially art. And we have all the all state-of-the-art measurement equipment that Nick is asking. Was it Nick? I forgot his name.
Yeah, it was Nick. Yeah,
that's asking about. Yep.
Thanks, Nick.
It's funny too, because in talking to our chief designer, he's got we have like torture tracks that we use to really assess high end bass, imaging, all these different features of what people are going to do when they're critically listening to them. And it's funny because you learn to hate these tracks, which I thought was funny. I thought that it was like this glorified moment where it's like you're hearing the voice of God, and it's like, and it's like, so, and he's like, it's tedious and it takes a ton of blood, sweat, and tears. It's that perfect combination of like Gary was saying, it's art and science, but there's a lot of toiling and long hours of listening. But these tracks,
and you listen with one. Everybody has to know you listen with one speaker. You don't listen with two speakers. You're not like having a martini and relaxing and listening to them. It's very rigorous, and you're listening to these songs that you end up just hating because you hear them over and over and over again. But the result in my mind, worth it.
Yeah, as like a marketing guy, I'm like, yeah, exactly that. In my head, it's sitting around drinking martinis, like putting on your favorite tracks, and I was like, yeah, we nailed it, guys. It's it's not quite that much glory until you get to the very, very end, but it does show the attention to detail and how much we wanted these to really shine.
Yeah, I've been there, and there are days where you say, if I have to listen to the Ballad of the Runaway Horse one more time, it's work. It's hard work. It takes the fun out of it, but it gives the rest of us a product that we get to listen to and do sit back with a martini and enjoy. So, excellent. So all right, so let's we've kind of covered the tweeter as well as the cabinet shape and kind of the thought going into that, as well as the driver array. Kind of curious about the woofers, especially having two so far apart. Now, I trust SVS knows quite a bit about subwoofers. I understand you know a thing about subwoofers, Gary.
A thing or two, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Nick and I were talking a little bit, and he was really excited about the force balanced woofer array. Force balancing, this is not new to SVS as well. I mean, I've got a Micro 3000 about a stone's throw away from me right now. But that's a subwoofer. That's different when it's in a passive speaker. But
it's funny you say that, because we learned a lot from the 3000 Micro. Those are dual opposed active 8-inch drivers. Nick, you want to take this because you actually do a good job with it.
Yeah, no, this was something that we learned this execution when designing one of our most popular subwoofers, our 3000 Micro, which really was a benchmark product for us, and I think for the industry to have a micro subwoofer that was able to achieve that level of performance. And we knew
we should leave Vladimir's question up there, because Nick is going to get to that. It's a very good question, and Nick is going to get to it.
And to have, that technology implemented in a tower speaker, we knew it would provide a whole bunch of acoustic benefits. So essentially what you're seeing here with the graphic on the scene, this is our Ultra Evolution Pinnacle, but it also is applied in our Titan and our smaller Ultra Evolution Tower, dual opposing woofers in a force balance array. Now, all of these woofers are active. They are getting power from the amplifier or the AV receiver. So there's no passive radiators, none of that sort of slower, muddy bass that you can get from a passive radiator execution. And when you have these force balance array, you have the drivers moving in and out at the same time, which inside the cabinet actually negates any kind of acoustic vibrations, any kind of vibrational energy, any distortion that could be created that would be manifested basically in sound outside of the cabinet. So it's completely inert. They cancel each other out as far as any kind of energy goes. When you move outside the cabinet, it actually reinforces the acoustic energy. So you get deep, authoritative bass that really fills the room in an even, natural way. And even to the extent where we have two of these towers towed in, you have 8 different drivers all firing in different directions throughout the room. And that prevents, much like a dual subwoofer effect, denser, low frequency wave density throughout the room. So you smooth out some of those peaks, those nulls. You get nice even bass response no matter where you're sitting. And so, we wanted to have the best of all worlds, where, it was really accurate, pinpoint, perfect bass that's precise and controlled. But also, if you're using it in a home theater setting, or you're listening to certain types of music that really call for it, they're able to step up to that challenge and really give you that authoritative bass as well that, you can really feel. So that's what we tried to do with the woofer execution. And I think most people who have heard them at any of the audio shows, especially in a 2-channel setting, their first question is, do I need a subwoofer with these? And I always say, you can never, I never wanted to dissuade anyone from getting a subwoofer, but in a 2-channel listening experience specifically, these are probably the most capable speakers where you maybe wouldn't actually need one.
It might require a 16 Ultra, so.
Not going to dissuade you.
Right. We love subwoofers, I'll tell you that, but having a speaker array that is as full range as possible, that's a beautiful thing as well. So by doing this force cancellation, you've accomplished 2 things. We've made the inside of the cabinet a more ideal environment by creating that pressure to a constant 0, right? By having compression and rarefication match on either side of the cabinet. And then, of course, like you said, it's reinforcing the bass on the outside and even making it more omnidirectional. Now, obviously, we have active drivers pushing out the back of the speaker. Is there anything that we need to know about, how close to a wall, or is this going to create artifacts within our room by having a driver facing towards a barrier so close?
This is a great question. Couple of things about that. Number one, because of the shape of the cabinet, they can go right up against a wall. But to your question, I think you're right. If possible, it's very good to bring the speakers out from boundaries, 2 feet or more from the back wall and the side walls, and they will be at their best. But they were designed to go right up against a wall and have things right alongside of them if that's what the user needs. And we know that people have lives, so you can compromise how they get placed.
Right.
And you had another, I lost there was a second question there.
Yeah, there was a gentleman asking about whether it would be worth getting a subwoofer in a home theater setting.
I think, to your point, Nick, I think about 2-channel, it's not needed. Nate, it's great if they get an SVS subwoofer, because, as I made a joke on our previous show that we were on just now. I have a kid going through college, so, but reality is, in 2-channel, the 3 towers don't really need a subwoofer. But in a home theater, I think you really always want a subwoofer, I think, to handle the LFE. As good as these speakers are, and they are amazing, a subwoofer in a home theater environment is the right call.
Yeah, and I think that there's also an argument that you have to look back to the production. In home theater and hi-fi products, we are playback systems, right? We're playing back something that has already been created. In home theaters, in the post-production, when they mix these, they are mixing a dedicated channel for a subwoofer, right? So I think their full range is a beautiful thing, but that channel was put in that movie for a reason, for that subwoofer. So it's seldom a bad idea. I don't know if it's ever been a bad idea, but
I think you're totally right. You're exactly right. That's true. I just want to speak to the question about from Mike, who asks about push-pull. They're not push-pull. They're force canceling, meaning they're pushing in together and they're going out together. And that's what you experienced also, Nate, with your 3000 micro subwoofer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're not talking about one moving side to side and the other
exactly
one.
Right.
They're not dance partners. It's back.
Yes.
And forth.
Thank you.
Which is funny. Some of those original micro subwoofers that came out, they actually had a tendency to dance across the room because of that push-pull. There wasn't enough weight in the actual cabinet of the micro subwoofers to keep them from moving their position. So you'd put a song on, and
Nate knows which brand that is too, but we're not going to name names.
the subwoofer would be like 4 feet across the room, like during a heavy bass track, and it'd be like, wait, what happened here? So you don't want that happening in a speaker or a subwoofer. So that was really the mentality there.
Yeah, I will say I have put I think we had actually you were here last time, Gary. We were doing an event here in Colorado Springs, and we had the micro set up in one of the systems, and
we always feel welcomed at your Colorado Springs store. By the way, I wanted to say that. I don't know if you're typically there or if you're all over, but that's a great store. It's a beautiful big store, and the community is very welcoming there.
Oh, it's easy when everybody here loves their job, but thank you. We love having you guys, but we did put a glass of wine on that micro, just to kind of take a look at it, and it was incredibly inert. But there is a subwoofer dance in other models that I'm sure many of us
we won't name names.
Seen.
No.
Yeah,
well, not to one up.
Right.
We've actually balanced a nickel on it when doing a Tron demo, which to me was like, all right, that's about as extreme as you can get. So we take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah. So excellent. So all right. So we've addressed the woofers. We know that we're not only what we're achieving inside the cabinet, outside the cabinet, and how that's also improving its reaction in the room.
And also in a pair of speakers, just to say, there's 8 active bass drivers. So because there's 8 active bass drivers, they're at, in slightly different geographic locations in the room, which, we're not talking about feet, but we're talking about inches. And for that reason, the bass is very authoritative, but it's also, there's not significant room nodes. Pretty much anywhere in the room is going to have the correct bass, true to the content, not overpowering, but correct.
Right. And an evenness. That being said, I've seen this question come up quite a few times in a couple of different ways. And, I kind of have this question too. With 8 active drivers, what kind of demand are we putting on our amplifier for these speakers?
This speaker as an amplifier load is one of the easier loads we've ever done. The Prime series are very easy to drive. The Ultra series, our Ultra towers would go below 4 ohms at certain frequencies. Everybody knows impedance varies according to frequency. These speakers actually are not difficult to drive. A normal mid-fi receiver will drive them, and there's no problems. A Class D amplifier, no problem. That said, I know Listen Up has some of the finest ancillary gear in the world. They will benefit from really high-end ancillary gear. If you have that, you will hear the benefits of that, but you don't have to do that.
Gotcha. So if we've got let's say kind of close to our starter system, we might not have the best, but we have something, and we don't have to. If we buy the speaker, we're not all of a sudden looking at now you have to change your amp out. Sorry, or else you're going to blow your gear, right?
It's not that.
Yeah.
So it's not a situation like that.
Yeah.
And but I will say, I have these hooked up with a surround sound receiver in one room, and I have them hooked up with a very high-end Mark Levinson stack in a different room. And I hear the benefits of the Mark Levinson, but they're absolutely no problem working with a mid-fi home theater receiver either.
Yeah. And anecdotally, the first time we showed these off, which were actually prototypes at CES this January, we were running a 5.2.2 home theater system off a very mid-level Denon AV receiver. And this is in an open ceiling environment in a trade show where the noise floor is like, I don't know, what is it, about 75 decibels, just where, the background noise was hitting. So, people were coming from all different directions when they heard some of the cinematic tracks we were playing. But then also right on the show floor, outside of the big demo cabin, we were playing 2-channel, the Ultra Evolution Titans, the middle level tower off our Prime Wireless Pro sound base. It's a Class D, 150 watts per channel, and that's bringing people to us. So it shows even in very, very imperfect settings like that, you're able to drive them very effectively without super high-end gear.
And
Okay.
I'm going to say to Dwayne, who's asking, can his Marantz, he's got I think in the middle of the lineup of Marantz receivers. Absolutely. It's going to work great, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say here at Listen Up, one thing we always tell people when it comes to amplifiers is that there is such a thing as quantity over quality. Watts matter, but they're not the final say. Right?
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, and it's and what I will say is we've put SVS on a number of different receivers here. Never have we experienced any sort of problems doing SVS. And these are standard. We can expect an overall 8 ohm load on these, which is going to be compatible with most AV hi-fi mid-fi gear.
Well, just to be totally transparent, we rate them at 6 ohms. And
you rate them at 6.
Yeah, but they
okay.
Again, they're not a difficult load. And sometimes you remember when an 8 ohm speaker is never 8 ohms in real life. It's varying according to frequency. And I think what I've found with these are Ultra towers of the previous generation. We rated at 8 ohms, but they were a more difficult load than these rated at 6 ohms. And by the way, as you say, Nate, I've never had someone tell me, "Oh, it didn't work well with my receiver," on any speaker we've ever done.
Right. Excellent. So, okay. So now we've kind of entered the conversation of amplification and pairing, and that kind of brings us to the question of receivers and integrated amplifiers and things like that. And we'll leave watts and things like that aside, but also the cabinet style, we see this in very, very high-end, hi-fi 2-channel speakers. And we've talked a little bit about the bass performance of this. We've talked about the time alignment and how that has helped with imaging, both in the sweet spot and maybe just outside of the sweet spot. Is this a hi-fi speaker? Is this a home theater speaker? What kind of speaker is this?
The answer is yes. and I'm kidding, but I'm not. I mean, I think one of SVS's design principles is, okay, what is a home theater speaker? I mean, typically what you think of with a home theater speaker is it's very dynamic. It probably has good low frequency extension. It's an exciting speaker. And what do you think of when you think of an audiophile speaker? Well, it's refined, it's accurate, it's true to the content. Why would you have to choose one over the other? Well, the home theater speaker, it might be exciting to listen to, but it's probably not accurate. It's probably not refined. Why would you choose the audiophile speaker? Because in your price range, sir, you can't afford dynamic audiophile speaker. You can only, or ma'am, you can only afford the refinement and the accuracy, but not the excitement. And we don't believe in that. We believe that a great speaker should be a great speaker. It should be great with music. It should be great in a 2-channel environment. It should be refined and accurate and true to the content. It should be musical. But if you use it in a home theater environment, it should be able to rise to the dynamics of a big time movie. It should have excellent low frequency extension. I'd like to say these speakers fill that bill, and that's generally been our design philosophy from day one.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that a little bit, the voicing process, all that content that Gary just mentioned as far as big home theater, dynamic, deep bass sort of action scenes, but then also very refined classical music of the highest quality recording. All of that was tested in perfectly treated rooms, but then also in cavernous open rooms, and then also in anechoic chambers. So the approach that we take to voicing and making the speaker capable of handling all this different types of content in a very capable way without compromising, that was a big part of why we took such great care and why it took longer than maybe it could have in terms of bringing these to market. Because again, that voicing process, that is the artistry of creating a great speaker. The science of bringing it into an anechoic chamber and measuring it and making sure all of that comes off to the levels you want it is only one part of the equation. But we were exhaustive in terms of the content that we stressed these with and the different environments that we tested them in.
Wow. Yeah, I think you keep bringing up the fact that you guys are testing it in both anechoic chambers and in good environments and bad environments, and I think that's something we struggle with all the time here at the store is talking to people, how that will translate from, you know, a really good room that's tuned to, I've got an open floor plan right next to a sliding glass door. It opens up into a kitchen. It's all hardwood, vaulted ceilings. You know, it's all of a sudden I don't have this perfect room. So when you have a speaker that's only been tested in a controlled environment, such as an anechoic chamber, it's hard to know if that's even going to be a good option. So.
Well, people have lives, and you need to respect that. They're not always going to be able to place the product in the exact perfect place. And then the other thing is, there's probably no such thing as a perfect listening room. There's always going to be issues, and so you try to make products that are as neutral to the listening room they're in as is humanly possible, and that is something we work really hard at.
Yeah, well, excellent. So. All right. So I kind of want to come full circle right now. We've kind of addressed a lot of the materials, the new materials, new shape, and what to expect out of the performance of these speakers. Can we take a little bit of a broader look at SVS as a company and the products that are available from SVS? Obviously, this one, as you said, Gary, this is excitingly new. The Evolution lineup, but how is that going to fall in line with the other speakers that we've seen so far? You know, the existing Pinnacles or the Tower Ultras. I mean, where is this our best speaker? Is this our new reference for SVS? And how's it going to pair if we already have SVS speakers in our system?
I love that question. Thank you for it, asking it. This is our best. Absolutely. It is the culmination of everything we've learned about designing speakers and everything we've figured out about what the level of technology we can bring to the price range, anywhere near these price ranges. And we're really proud of them. But we do voice the same way, in the sense that I don't like our speakers to have a quote unquote personality. I don't want, oh, that sounds like a German speaker. Oh, that sounds like a British speaker. That, I was saying on a previous show, even in the day, American speakers, you'd say, oh, that's an East Coast sound. That's a West Coast sound. We're like so not about that. We want the speaker to be voiced, to be true to the content, true. And we work hard at that. And we've done that from day one. So for that reason, a home theater that features different series of our products, Ultra Series, old Ultra, what is now have to be called old Ultra Series, Ultra Evolution Series, or Prime Series, they can all be in the same home theater. There's not some necessity to get rid of the other product if you bring in the new product. In fact, for several months, I've had a set of Ultra Evolution Pinnacle speakers as the front left and right speakers of a home theater, but the old Ultra Center speaker, Ultra Surround speaker, and Prime elevation speakers rounding out the different channels of this home theater. And it sounds great and very, very in agreement sonically. That said, these are our best technology. This is our best, the culmination of everything we've learned about speakers. So, the ultimate theater would have all Ultra Evolution, but we understand that's not going to be possible for everyone. They definitely can mix and match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So yeah, because that's good because I have a client that just put in an SVS theater right now, and if they come into the store later and they hear these, I don't want them to look at me and say, "Why didn't you tell me to wait?" But that's good to know. Now, in regards to voicing, a lot of us here are going to know what voicing means when it comes to speakers, and some of us won't. Can we touch on that a little bit? How can we have?
You're right. I shouldn't.
Speaker. Yeah.
I'm using an industry-facing term, and I apologize. Mm-hmm. Voicing means, I guess the way to put it would be, does the speaker have a personality outside of the content? Is it bright, in your face? Is it quote unquote forward? Is it reticent? Is it recessed? Is it mid-range forward, or is it high frequencies forward? Is it bassy? And people have those kind of conversations all the time about speakers. What we work at with our speakers is to be true to the content. I would be very happy if someone said, well, I can't really describe this speaker as being bright or not bright. This speaker is being for acoustic music or for EDM, or I would be very happy if a person said, I don't know what the voicing is of the speaker. It just sounds like the music, or it sounds like the content that went into it. That's our goal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that help? I mean, I'm trying not to be too jargony.
Yeah, and I think to kind of put it in tandem, the voicing for SVS, the pursuit is neutrality.
Neutral,
right?
Yes,
exactly. I'm not.
Looks like one of your commenters said that before you did, but yep, that's right.
Oh yeah, look at that. All right, Symphonics, cool, excellent. Yeah, and oh, by the way, to everyone that is tuning in, fire away at the comments and the questions. Hopefully we can catch them. They're coming in, but we'll try and address these. So excellent. Can I just get some clarification on the models available through the Ultra Evolution, right? So we've been talking about the towers. What all speakers are available in here, just to clarify.
You want to do it, or should I, Nick? Oh, Nick might have gone.
Oh no, we lost him.
Either that, or he's very, very bored. He's about to fall asleep. It looks like
he forgot. So he's fine.
So until he comes back, I'll walk you through the lineup. So there are 3 towers. There's the Ultra Evolution Pinnacle, the largest tower that they top out at $5,000 a pair. Then the next tower down is same look, just slightly smaller drivers, is the Ultra Evolution Titan tower. There's Nick. And then the third tower, slightly smaller still, is the Ultra Evolution Tower. Okay. And then there are 2 bookshelf speakers, the Ultra Evolution bookshelf speaker and the Ultra Evolution, what we call Nano, which is a smaller bookshelf speaker. And then there is an Ultra Evolution center speaker, and then probably the most requested speaker in our history, the Ultra Elevation kind of multi-purpose height effects and home theater speaker. All of these speakers are time aligned. So the time alignment story applies to all of them. You can see it in the front baffle of the bookshelf speaker. It doesn't seem as extreme, but it's the same time alignment as in the towers. And then the only one that's not officially time aligned is the Ultra Evolution, because it's got an angled baffle, because it's a home theater kind of solution speaker for height effects and other surround kind of speaker needs. So that's a couple, 7 models.
Questions about the bookshelves too. One, what are the real differences between the Nano and the larger bookshelf? And really, it's dynamic range, dynamic impact, and frequency response.
The short answer is not that much.
Yeah, not that much.
The 3 towers sound very similar. Obviously, the smaller tower doesn't go as deep as the bigger towers, but they sound very similar. And the same with the 2 bookshelves. The Ultra Nano, the smaller bookshelf, is like a little magic trick. And our intention was for all of them to have a similar kind of feel, sonic feel to them. And they all have surprising presence given the size. Well, when you see the Ultra Evolution Pinnacle, it's a large speaker. When you see the smaller ones, they're kind of shocking with how well they do in a smaller configuration.
Yeah, and the Nanos equip themselves very well to near field listening. I saw a couple of questions about that. They make phenomenal surrounds. You could actually put them on a bookshelf, which most bookshelf speakers are much better.
Yeah, it's a misnomer to call a bookshelf speaker a bookshelf speaker. They're better on stands.
Yeah, stand mount, I think, is what our UK friends call them, which is probably more accurate. But we've adopted the term bookshelf here. But yeah, they're definitely great for near field listening as well, and they're really going to do a lot for you in any size room.
Excellent. All right.
Do we have a giveaway, Nate? I'm pretty sure we might have a giveaway tonight too.
I think we do. Here, let me see what we can do here. Let's see. Is Hallie in the room? She's not. Here, let me see what she pulled up for that.
Well, we are giving away a pair of our Prime Wireless Pro powered bookshelf speakers, and right. These things are magic tricks. They are an amazing assemblage of connectivity options with HDMI, Wi-Fi, AirPlay 2, Chromecast, Bluetooth if you don't mind listening to compressed music. They got every way you want to control it. Front panel interface. I should probably bring up a picture of them here.
Show these.
There's 192 kilobit DAC with 64 bits. So like the truest high resolution music that you could possibly want to listen to. It's just a phenomenal speaker. It's an all-in-one package. You can control it from your smartphone. That's really all you need to have a true hi-fi system. So it's just a phenomenal product, whether you're just starting out or even if you're a seasoned audiophile and you want to add this immersive, convincing sound to another room. It's just a phenomenal product. I'm going to get a picture here and I'll let you tee up a giveaway. Sorry, did I get booted again? Oh, sorry.
No, you're there. Now I've actually had to go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say I've actually heard these, and active speakers is something that man, you can definitely rub some people wrong when you bring up active speakers, but I would argue that a good active speaker has an amplifier in there designed for that speaker. I was able to hook up to these actually very easily, and we've had these in pretty big rooms, and for their size, they can pressurize the room pretty well. Actually, I'd say.
Well, the beauty of these speakers is they are amplified, but there's 4 amplifiers in the pair of speakers. So each driver has its own amplifier. We have a digital electronic crossover. Everything is done in the digital domain. And so we can create kind of a little magic trick out of these. You're exactly right, Nate. A little magic trick out of this relatively small cabinet. They will fill the room. They're very present. They're not a wireless speaker for background music, or they're not a wireless speaker to ignore. They're one that is there to demand your attention.
Right. Yeah. And that woofer really does. It's got a huge excursion. It really can dig deep when you ask it to, especially for its size. So,
and before we do the giveaway and wrap things up, Nate, I did want to say, we've done events with Listen Up, and these are as world-class when it comes to hi-fi stores as you can get. And I'm not just, blowing smoke at you here. It's why we keep coming back and doing these events, because your executions of retail when it comes to hi-fi and home theater are unmatched. And we see these all over the world. So if you're tuning in for the first time from the SVS community and you're in the Colorado area or even passing through, you guys have 3 stores that are just filled with audiophiles and phenomenal gear and some SVS as well. So check them out if you get a chance.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you'll run into a lot of SVS in our stores, and we've talked a lot about sound signatures and voicing and the performance to expect from a speaker. I thoroughly believe that if you have the opportunity to get your ears on a speaker, your ears won't lie to you. And I don't think any of us have lied to you, but your ears will be the most honest. So if you're in the area, we don't have these in yet, but give us a call. And I believe this is one that we plan on putting up in a couple of our rooms. So give us a call and come have a listen. So before we do the giveaway, Nick, I just want to go over everything because a few people have come in kind of late, and I think there's a lot of questions that we've been able to answer that a couple of people have just missed. So to reiterate, when we talk about the new Ultra Evolution lineup, yes, SVS is taking a lot from what it has accomplished in the past, but this is a completely new design. Do not think of this as an old speaker updated. This is a completely new design. We're looking at new materials such as the tweeters, which have a diamond deposit on that. That's going to help us with our rigidity. It's not going to beam as much. It has a much higher breakout. So essentially, this tweeter in itself and the diffuser in front of it is an accomplishment on its own. We're looking at a completely new driver array. We're looking at 4 active woofers, so excellent even bass, excellent time alignment, easy enough speaker to push. Amplification will reward you, but we're not pigeonholed here. Excellent for hi-fi, excellent for home theater, easy to place as well. I think that's also an excellent thing. Oh man, it does voice well with other SVS speakers if we've got one. Is there anything else that I've missed that we should cover?
I don't know. We've had an
Magnetic grill.
hour of talking about these. I think we did it.
Yeah,
I
excellent.
know Gary's got a blue plate special he's got to hit up here. You know,
Yeah.
No, but you really nailed it. And, you know, we're so excited to have these in the Listen Up stores and for people to experience them in person. And I know we're trying to lock down a date for an in-person event. So I
do want to reiterate how proud we are of the partnership with Listen Up. It's one of the companies I've always admired my whole time in this industry, which is a really long time now, Nate. So really, really proud of the partnership. And I do love the Colorado Springs store. I'm not just blowing smoke. We always look forward to doing stuff there.
Thanks. We'll come back soon. Okay.
We will.
And, we'll do another event and have a good time. So it's never a dull moment with y'all. So, and honestly, I do want to let everybody know that we are very proud to have SVS in our stores. Not only is it a fantastic product, which is something that we prioritize, but another really important thing here at Listen Up is the people behind the product, the people that are able to get us information that will respond if we have questions, or if we feel like there might be a problem with the product. SVS has never been slow to react and resolve the issue, though I can't think of many instances where the product was actually the problem. But yeah, SVS is a name that we proudly hang our hat on. So
thanks.
Well, we could go another whole show just about our customer experience we try to create, but let's leave them wanting more, Nate, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting mushy here. So all right. All right.
Feel the love.
Gotcha. So all right. So excellent.
Would you like me to pick the winner? Or?
I would prefer, because if I pick it, then someone's gonna come after me, and they know where I'm at now that we brought up Colorado Springs.
We do it completely random, and I have somebody behind the scenes who's put it in our randomizer, and the winner of our Prime Wireless Pro Powered Bookshelves speakers is Siphonics Audio. Siphonics Audio.
Congratulations!
You won. Good
you
comment.
Probably the coolest name, and you got some free speakers.
Absolutely. So we will get your information, get those shipped out to you. Congratulations. And we appreciate what you've done for us, Nate, here. And we look forward to doing another stream and some live events here down the road.
Absolutely. You know where we're at. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you, everybody that joined today.
Happy listening, everyone.